Hey everyone, I hope this finds you well. Yes, I'm late on a Friday, but I just wanted to come to you and let's talk about something that's kind of new, kind of out of our realm, something that I don't normally talk about. But I want to make this kind of a precursor to some things that I'll be bringing up later and probably through a different page. So, as many of you know, I'm a dental hygienist. And that has led me to a completely different world in the last few years to talk about sleep breathing disorders, making sure our airway is open, the entire world of sleep apnea, and how we can resolve that. And so that's one really great thing about continuing education is that we continue to learn. I very first started learning about this probably it's been more than 10 years ago, and I did so in an attempt to help my husband and bed partner, if you know what I mean. I mean, who can relate to the fact that your spouse is snoring so loudly that you cannot sleep? Anybody? So that's what led me that direction. But today I really want to talk about something that I think is a tipping point that you may be interested in and something I want you to start being aware of and start looking at it. Now, anxiety is all over the place. Never has mental health been talked about as much as during these times because we're talking about COVID and everybody is sheltering and quarantining, and therefore this jump in mental health has happened because we are isolated. We're no longer in control what we thought we had control of, such as our finances, our time, where we could shop, when we could shop, how we could shop. All of those things have been taken away. So I want to just make you aware that you know me. And if you don't know me, then this will be the first time you've heard about it. God created us as a three-part being. We are a spirit, we have a soul, which is your mind, your will, and your emotions, and we live in a body. Okay? So we're a three-part being, just like he's a three-part being, Father, Son, Spirit. Okay? So as a three-part being, whenever we approach a problem that we have or a challenge, then I wasn't made aware until a few years ago that there needs to be a three-prong approach because you can be being attacked from all of these different areas. But because these are, what is this? This is three fingers, but it all leads into one hand. Eventually, they all connect at some point in time in some way. So because they all connect, you can treat one, but it's still going to have come down here. And guess what? It can surface in these two areas here. Does that make sense? So we've got to start looking at other things. I am in training right now to become an orofacial myofunctional therapist. There's a lot that entails, but it deals with the tongue a lot having to do with the tongue. The tongue is comprised of 7 muscles. I don't think that's quite a mistake. What do we know about the number 7? So the tongue is comprised of 7 muscles. And if you read the book of James, well, not just James, but James is constantly kicking our rear or kicking my rear about all of the things that the tongue can do. Okay. And most often what is drawn from that is that you are making a physical voice, physical words, and then something manifests within your atmosphere, okay? Because I believe we do have the power that God gave us as far as a creation. He spoke, he created. We can speak and we can create, which is why the pendulum swing of we've got to praise this child because we've talked down, and now we took the pendulum swing of praising and now we don't know how to do anything else. So it's you get what you speak or you, and I'm not talking about blab it and grab it, name it and claim it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if I have the ability to determine that I am not going to be a cowboy, a rancher, a farmer, and I want to sit in the air conditioning at, when I get grown and have a career where I get paid every 2 weeks, and you become a dental hygienist, guess what? There's some power in that, in what I spoke, but also in what I determined and I set my steps to. James, when we're talking about this, we're only considering the one aspect, and we are not considering all aspects. There is a physical reason why negative things happen. right? So something physical can happen to you, and it can have an impact on you spiritually, and it can have an impact on you emotionally. And so that's how we talk about the tongue. But I want to just briefly talk about how the tongue can have a physical connection to anxiety within you. I'm not talking about, yes, even though I believe it, what you're focusing on. That makes a big difference. If you focus, on something, you're going to, what did they used to call that in the 70s? GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. It's going to be constantly what's coming to you, constantly what's coming on to you, which is why it says in the word that we are to fix our eyes on him. But there's another reason for this, and that you have got to learn in order to be able to get rid of anxiety and approach it in 3 prongs. Yes, you need to go to the spiritual, right? Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding, right? So you need to approach it spiritually. You need to approach it emotionally, and that's part of that getting a grip that you are secure, that you are safe. But there's a physical part, and it has to do with where your tongue rests. It has to do with how you are breathing. It has to do with how you are sleeping as well. Okay, so tongue ties have gotten a lot of discussion, especially when it comes to the natural world and nursing moms. Tongue ties also had a discussion when we were talking about kids and speech issues. Those are the 2 places that I tended to hear about the tongue, and the tongue most often. However, my air conditioner just came on, so my door just slammed. When we're going to talk about the tongue, we're also going to talk about where your tongue is supposed to sit, the tongue posture. If your tongue is at the floor of your mouth and does not rest up against the roof of your mouth, what we call the palate, and I'm not just talking the tip, I'm talking the entire area of the tongue. Did you know that when you sleep, that your tongue serves as an obstruction, or can serve as an obstruction, to slide into the back of your throat and block your airway? Did you realize that? This is how snoring happens, okay? If you cannot breathe through your nose, then you are not getting the benefit of the anti-inflammatory of nitric oxide that comes and bathes over you. This nitric acid, I said oxide, I meant acid. This nitric acid serves as an anti-inflammatory. When you breathe through your mouth, you do not gain it. When you breathe through your nose and you use the proper humidifier and filtering system that God created, then you are automatically being bathed in an anti-inflammatory. If you walk around like this all day, guess what? You are mouth breathing. You are not nasal breathing. Did you know that if you mouth breathe, even in the daytime, but also when you sleep, that your body is constantly in fight or flight mode? Do you know that that's what it's doing to your adrenal glands? Your adrenal glands are on max all the time. Struggling with insomnia? Well, guess what? Insomnia, anxiety, and depression all go together. But insomnia, can you sleep if your adrenals are going and you're constantly in fight or flight mode? No, you can't. So there's something I want you to consider. I want you to consider watching what you breathe through. What percentage of the day are you breathing through your nose? What percentage of the day are you breathing through your mouth? And is this having an effect on me? Because what do we call hyperventilation? Hyperventilate. Guess what? You are not getting the proper exchange of gas within your lungs. You're breathing through your mouth. And therefore, it's having a negative effect on you all over. That's just an immediate effect that you notice. So if you're struggling with anxiety, put your thoughts on the Lord. Give him your day. Trust that he's going to take care of you. That's your emotions, your spiritual life has been impacted there. But let's start noticing whether or not you're breathing through your nose. Are you breathing through your nose, or are you breathing through your mouth? If you're breathing through your nose, I want you to come back. I'm going to probably do this for a few weeks, and I don't know that I'll do it every Friday, but I want you to come back because I'm going to start talking about some of these things and things that you can do to check to see whether or not you're a nasal breather or mouth breather. And we'll talk about the ramifications, not just a hyped up adrenal glands, but we'll talk about the ramifications in other areas if you are a mouth breather. I think you might be surprised. Start looking at your people around you. Look at your people. Look at your family. Are they sitting at the table or watching TV like this? And it doesn't have to be big. It can even be this. Guess what? If they're not using their nose, they're increasing their ability to be constantly in fight or flight. They're also increasing their chances of having, I'm going to use the word COVID. Why? Because your immune system cannot work when you're constantly inflamed. Ooh, 2 big pictures there. Let me know what you think. Blessings.